host,
Christopher Dallymore.
This is the first episode of what is likely to be an 8-car pileup of a podcast. This is Ghost Car Speedometer, hosted by Mateo and Chris. Welcome, welcome. Today we are talking about our dream garage and what we want out of that. There's a few parameters, but let's get right to it.
Alright.
So, our episode title, Barbie's Dream Garage. This ain't no dollhouse. I did not add that part. This is our, basically, like, what is your dream garage? What are the dream, not so much list of cars that you want to own, but list of, like, you know, Americans own, like, what, 2.3 cars?
If it was the list of cars that I wanted to own, it'd be most of the cars in the market, just so I owned them.
It stretches forever, but, like, if we had to narrow it down to kind of what's your dream lineup, like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, but with wheels, this is what we've got, more or less.
And so we have the parameters right here. First one is the prized possession car. Hopefully some sort of classic. I'm not sure what Mateo's are. I don't know if he's looked at mine. There's also our daily driver, the practical car,
which is not a daily driver. We'll kind of run down.
We'll specify when we get through them. There's the fun car. Generally not over 200 grand, I think, is what we what I went for, at least. And then the irrational exotic car,
which is the one that is 200 grand.
That is way over 200 grand. Yeah.
Just like whatever.
Preferably.
So all right, moving to prized possession. This is really, yeah, okay. For me, you can't see it in the slides.
the name is squished, to say the least.
So basically, my prized possession car is a car that, like, is very attainable. Like, it could be like a 70s Toyota Celica, but it's a car that I'm going to baby. I'm going to keep the paint nice. I'm going to restore. And for me, that's a 1969 or 1970 Mercury Cougar, which is quite literally a luxury Mustang. For me, I just really like it because it's a pretty car, and it's basically a Mercury frame on top of a Mercury body on top of a Mustang frame. So you have all the internals and all the aftermarket for a Mustang, and you get the elegance of a Mercury Cougar.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car.
Yeah, it's kind of like people who buy, like, later model Ford Falcons, where they were built off of the Mustang frame again, because, well, Mustang built off of a Ford Falcon frame in the first place, but they had all of the Mustang internals, and you could even put Mustang engines in them, I believe. There's a regular car reviews episode on that. But basically, it's an attainable car. It's a little more obscure. It has that nice, like, razor grill, as you see, and it's a car that I personally really value.
All right, and your second one?
Yes, my second pick is the De Tomaso Pantera. This is a car that is basically what I am. It's an Italian company that's also a Ford. It's kind of a Ford and De Tomaso kind of mashup, more or less. It has a Ford engine, which they say you can tune with a hammer, and I think it has the gearbox is apparently also, like, most of the internals are Ford, but the actual car itself is a mid-engined Italian sports car from the 70s, which is my favorite era of Italian sports cars, really, 70s through 60s, even into 50s. It's mid-engine. A lot of people raced them for a while, and as you get to the 80s, they got the kind of Countach treatment, which was a little...
Yeah, the flip-up headlights are classic, though.
Oh yeah, the flip-up headlights on this are classic. It's got that nice, unique look, and also you can see it as the bad guy's car in the My Chemical Romance Na 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 music video, which is just a plus for me.
I generally avoid music videos, but that's fair. So out of the two, you got to pick one.
If I had to pick one, attainable, the Mercury Cougar. The only problem with the Mercury Cougar, for me, the only con is that it's got a lot of long body panels.
Right, right.
Which means if somebody dings you, it's going to be a lot harder to replace than on a Mustang, which had more kind of broken up. And the Pantera is 70s Ford, which had the problem of when they went unibody, a lot of times they had problems draining water. So If it develops rust down there, it's unibody, which, you know, you're screwed. But, because that's also, the frame is also the body. It's fun, all fun. But at the same time, it's just, you pull up to a car meet and that nobody else has one. And I think that adds it some charm. I would probably have to go with the Cougar because there's more aftermarket support.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which is interesting because I mean, Italian car, American internals, it's basically me as a person, but as a car. But I would have to go with the Cougar just for parts availability and, like, again, this is kind of more of a realistic, aspirational car.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And the Cougar makes more sense in the end.
It does.
It also has fold-away headlights.
Yeah, the Pantera it is. So my first one is the Jaguar E-Type.
Of course it is.
First of all, it's British. It's my heritage.
See, there we go. Just like the Pantera for me, it's.
Well, yeah, it's you have a connection to your heritage's life's work, and well, this is one of the beautiful things that came out of Britain. Now, the only problem I've ever had with it is how long the nose is, but at the same time, that is just an amazing feature. It's short, it's quick, and it's just a lot of fun. And it's stunning, to say the least.
Okay, have you seen the E-Type hearse that they made for Harold and Maude?
The E-Type hearse?
Yeah, it's like an E-Type, and it had like there's a guy that actually completely, like, rebuilt one exactly like the movie, and you won't reveal what car actually, like, the hearse part came from. Apparently it's from, like, some, like, Japanese car from the era, so it's, like, you know, probably, I don't know what they would be, maybe something from old Honda, old Toyota, but they basically welded a hearse bit onto the back of a Jaguar E-Type for this movie, and it actually looks good. It's for Harold and Maude. It's an old 60s movie that's kind of got a cult following.
I have a hard time believing that looks good, but...
I mean, I'm also, like, a hearse guy. I didn't put a hearse on this list, but I would drive a hearse. I would drive a hearse. A hearse is not on this list, but I would drive a hearse. I'll probably mention where I'd put the hearse, but I digress. So we've got the Jaguar E-Type, and your second one
is the 1966 Ford Mustang Fastback.
I'm kind of intrigued that you went with the 66 instead of the traditional 69 or the Bullet 68.
Well, I mean, this, I think it comes down, well, I like the more, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first Fastback, or is this the third?
I wouldn't know about roof lines much. I mean, I know 64.5 is the Mustang year, but...
Yeah, this one, I just like the body style better. I mean, when I was trying to decide, I was flipping, just looking through Google Images and looking at all the... of course, I didn't look at the internals or anything like that. They're virtually the same, but yeah. I just love the look of this one the most. But, yeah, I mean, it's classic American muscle. It's the Ford Mustang, and it's just a beautiful car.
I will say it has the regular car reviews. Again, I reference them. It's a car podcast and car YouTube channel, but it's like it's something about American cars, but they call it Wingadinga for, like, cars that are, like, you know, old guys, the kind of classic American, and it fits directly into that, like, Wingadinga tier.
Yeah.
Which is, like, not a bad thing. You see all the American cars on my list.
Yeah. Now, choosing between the two, that's a hard one. And it basically comes down to where I live. No offense to the E-Type, but that thing is small. And we're in America.
See, for me, that would be a good thing that it's small. I love small cars.
Well, yeah, I do too, but I mean, it's the Mustang. It's America. You drive a Mustang in America. Sure, Jaguar E-Type. If I'm in Britain, I'm going to be driving that everywhere, but this thing's not going to fit over there.
I mean, you will get more aftermarket support for the Mustang simply because it is a Mustang.
Oh, yeah,
and
that
parts
too.
are going to be extremely cheap for it.
Find parts easier. And it just looks better in America than the E-Type would anyway.
I will. Yeah, you have again. This is what is it? Priceless, treasured possession. I forget what's the slide.
Yeah, treasured possession.
Yeah.
Of course, we're completely prepared for this episode.
Yeah, we're completely prepared for this episode. I told
we
you
weren't,
it was going to be...
We weren't fumbling around with the sound right beforehand and...
Testing.
the Zoto full screen, which still has all of the the tab up here, which makes perfect sense. It's not like
You're welcome.
Google Slides wasn't working or something.
It's part of the process.
Yeah, it's totally intentional.
But as a prized possession, it's supposed to be aspirational, but not like astronomically so.
Well, yeah.
So, which makes perfect sense why you have to. It's like aspirational with practicality, I suppose. Like,
and it just be the fastback. And the one of the main things though, look at the wheels. As I do enjoy the spokes.
Those like American racing style.
It's the white line, and oh, it just looks gorgeous in that blue
gorgeous.
body. And that is the color I'd get too.
That grandpa blue.
Oh yeah, of course. You gotta have the stripe too.
Yeah, and the white stripe. Yeah.
Now, if I were to get a Jaguar though, this is definitely the color.
Yeah,
Definitely
the
green.
dark green.
You can't go with any other E-type than green. It's just wrong.
You know, there's a warmer like along that same line of green, but there's like a warmer green that Chevy is using on like their Equinox and like their Cruise now. Like
Yeah, I've seen that.
right now, that's actually a green I don't hate. Like this is a complete rabbit trail.
You hate this green?
No, but like that type of green, I'm like I see it, and that there's like it's a little darker and a little more modern paint on the new Chevys, but like that type of green is like a green that I actually go for.
It's like your dark and dreary, you know.
I live in England.
Like England, yeah.
It rains all the time. Sometimes
that's why you have a convertible. Of course, it rains, so you take the roof off and just pop up your umbrella.
Yeah, you make yourself a cup of tea while you're at it.
Yeah, of course. Actually, in the English military, every vehicle must have a tea machine. No joke. The British military, that is.
Oh, that's spectacular.
It is so true. Anyway, but the fastback wins on that. Next, we are moving on to
daily, this is a car. It doesn't have to be a practical daily, but it's called. You could get to work in this car. You could get, home to this car. You could even take it on a road trip. That's not too far, like going to Tulsa from Oklahoma City, or, like. Not like a cross-country epic, but you could do a cross-country epic if you wanted to. And for me, it's the 1974 Chevy Nova. I really like Chevy Novas because, alright, a little bit of backstory. I've been like hunting for like a car that's perfect for me, and I thought I'd found it with the Ford Maverick, which was kind of like the Mustang's little brother in the 70s. It was like a fuel crisis car, so it had good gas mileage. And it looked sporty, and it was kind of, I don't know if you've seen 70s Mustangs, but they're basically bricks on wheels and, muscle cars proper in the 70s. Before you got the Mustang too, but we don't talk about that. And the Maverick was kind of the perfect car, but the Maverick, I've mentioned unibody, it didn't have like a proper frame under it, and a lot of people would turn them into drag cars. And what happens is when you put like, a lot of low geared differentials and a lot of horsepower into one of these cars, it has the tendency to like twist the actual body of the car with all the torque from the drivetrain in a Maverick. And the thing is, most Mavericks have been hooned to some degree, so a Chevy Nova is kind of the better version of the Maverick. It filled the same slot. And that's actually based off of the Chevy 2. It's the Chevy 2 became the Chevy Nova, which was a Ford Falcon competitor. So really the Chevy Nova is what the Mustang should have stayed like for the rest of the Mustang's life, but I digress. Anyway, I actually plan on buying one at some point, putting electronic...
Once we're out of college and
yeah,
have
once
at
I'm
least a little bit of money.
Out of college, have a little bit of money. I'm thinking of putting electronic fuel injection and kind of sprucing it up a little, and using one of them as my daily driver at some point. And it can be used as a daily driver. There's enough Chevy Novas that you're not going to really be amiss for parts, and you can definitely find like a parts car if you're desperate, on top of the fact that it's a small car that's not too valuable as far as things go. In the 1974 was really the last year before they went towards the more kind of an anamorphed into 80s styling that you had in the 70s. This was the last one that I think looks really good. And that's the Chevy Nova. And then next, the Chevrolet Corvair. I've listed... For some reason I'm going Chevy. I'm not a GM guy personally, but I'm just going Chevy for this. the Chevrolet Corvair was the poor man's Porsche, is what they literally called it. And it's rear engine, air cooled, just like the VW Bug. It has a front trunk. It was supposed to be fuel efficient from the start, and it's easy to work on because it's very economically engineered. You've heard unsafe at any speed, which was really a lie, because all cars were equally unsafe to the Chevy Corvair. Ralph Nader just targeted this one in particular. And because it is rear-engined, but it had the same suspension and the same like layout as a Porsche, like a 911 from the day, which I don't think Ralph Nader could afford enough to test a ton of them and crash them. And also the VW Bug, and they got it to flip by weighting the front wheel wells, and like they put weights on it and did things to it that really would engineer it to tip, whether like the car was deserved that or not. I did pick a later model Corvair before it, like kind of one of the few models before it died, the 65, because that's when they fixed the sway bars and stuff to make it tip over less, even with weights and stuff. So that's why I picked that, just because it is a tad quote-unquote safer. But this car didn't deserve to die, and it's a really nice car, the only con being some engine parts. But it's just a really stylish, nice car, and it didn't deserve to die the way it did.
Alright, well,
If I had to pick between the two,
the Nova or...
So, personally, I find the Corvair more stylish. People think it looks weird. I really like it.
No, it looks great. I don't know. I mean, sure. I hate soft tops. To say that.
Well, it didn't only come in convertible. This is just a nice picture I found.
Yeah. But I mean, it looks. I love the bottle styling. Yeah, the bottle
Coke
styling.
bottle styling.
Yeah.
So
the body styling. Yeah.
Only problem with the Corvair is it has very efficiently designed engine, but it has a single S-belt that like powers everything, right? And when it throws an S-belt, it throws an S-belt, and it's a pain, and it'll keep throwing them, and it's horrible once it throws an S-belt. So if you have a good engine that doesn't really do that much, then you're fine. But in their quest to make their perishables more economical and just have one, they kind of made the engine a pain. Now the engine's easy to get out, but that S-belt is legitimately garbage, which is why I would have to go with the Nova, just because Novas are all around easier to work on, even though the Corvair, like in the 60s and 67, they had turbo models where they had like
turbo models.
Yeah, they had turbo Corvairs that were really good, but that S-belt will just, as a practical daily, might mess it up. So I'm gonna go with the Chevy Nova.
All right, Chevy Nova. So now with mine, when I thought daily, oh my, we're advertising right here.
Pay us, Atlanta showroom.
I was pretty sure I cropped that out. I was very wrong.
Oh
well. My first thought for daily driver was, well, I live in the country back in Kansas. Trucks, well, you need them. So my first thought was the 1971 Ford F-150. It's practical. You can find parts anywhere for it.
Long bed or short bed?
Long bed.
Okay.
That's it. As much as I'd like to have the extended cab, you just need the long bed.
It's weird that like short bed trucks are like in high demand for like hot rodding. Not just hot rodding, but people really like short bed trucks.
Oh, it's all over. I mean, you cannot find a truck that's long bed for the, like, it's not stock anymore. You gotta, it's the more expensive ones are long bed. The normal is like the Tundra, the Silverado, and the new F-150s. They're all 4-door or 3.5-door or 3-door. Yeah, 3-door.
I'm talking about like older trucks, right? Like
older.
Yeah, in demand. Short bed trucks like the 71, 70s, even into the 80s. The short bed trucks are more in higher demand than the long bed.
That is odd. That is actually really odd.
I think it's just like old guys who want to truck to hot rod, you know, because
old guys who want to truck to hot.
I mean, it takes the like the kind of shoebox Ford, you know, like, you know, rust bucket rat rod. I think it takes that the younger versions of those rat rod guys.
That's fair.
They look at that, but I just found that interesting that that you would pick long beds, but.
Well, it's I mean, moving drywall in or wood.
Practicality.
It's practical.
Yeah.
And
I enjoy long.
Sure, it's probably more dangerous, but you know. I mean, you're driving a almost ton steel monster, so.
I think if anybody hits you, they're the ones.
Yeah,
they will
lose.
Trouble.
They'll lose. Now the reason I chose the 71 is it has the front tilted grill.
Is that aerodynamic?
No, but
yeah, I
it's
don't
just,
think so. I mean,
I just love the look of it.
Yeah.
I've always loved, and the Chevys from this era too. They all have that. It's just I love how these look.
You know, come to think of it, I've seen
gorgeous trucks.
I've seen like a more faded one in like a gray color, like a gray blue color. This is the grandpa blue, but I've seen a more faded one in my church parking lot, and that tilted grill does look good.
Yeah. I've always been a fan of old trucks though. And my second choice for daily was the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. I have always been obsessed with Wranglers, always. And the Rubicon, well, that's the package built for off-road. These are super easy to work on. I didn't mention the F-150s. I mean, you can do anything. There's so much space in the front end where the engine is.
You can kind of sit yourself inside, like in Ghostbusters. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, the Rubicon, same thing. Super easy to work on. But the difference is these things just don't break, and when they do, it's so easy to get back up and running. The newer ones, of course, they've not had the testing as the 2000s ones.
Yeah, they don't have the AMC 4-cylinder that could probably take you to Canada and back and like.
Well, yeah.
Off-road, take you to Canada off-road.
But it's Jeep. Jeep makes quality products.
Even though now
the Wrangler, it's not the best daily driver. I have to admit, they're especially the Rubicon. It's meant for off-roading, but again, I live in the country.
This is an ideal daily.
This is ideal daily, and it's probably more expensive than I want to pay for a daily anyway. But it's just for the where I live when I'm not at college, it makes sense for me. Plus, a road trip with this thing, you could do basically anything you wanted.
You could go up mountains, you could go down mountains, and you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I will say
also
now
it's the purple.
Yeah. Oh,
Love
they're doing
purple.
So they're doing Dodge colors, like they're doing it in like plum crazy purple. I think this might be plum crazy purple, which is like a hallowed Dodge color.
It looks K-State colors, like it's the same as that, and I don't know if that's plum crazy, but yeah.
If it's not quite plum crazy, it's close in this slide. I'm not like a Dodge fanatic. Like my best friend's a Dodge fanatic, and he's like, yeah, plum crazy purple, and I was like, I'm not painting my car that. I'm going for more lavender if I paint my car like that. But
now between the two, as much as I love the look of the Ford, it's just the daily. It'd be the Wrangler. Yeah. It makes more sense.
Better air conditioning.
Well, you can.
Yeah, I guess you could put
the new AC.
What is it? Vintage AC, vintage air. You can retrofit them with like.
Well, I mean, any company, any mechanic will do it. But yeah, it's the Rubicon, the Wrangler Rubicon, but
it has a backup camera.
It does, which doesn't matter. But I did.
Fair enough.
Yeah, just good old car. Now the next, it was practical.
It went practical. Here we go.
Well, this was daily. So
this
next
is daily.
Practical.
Yeah, now there's practical.
Yeah, so we're on practical now.
Also, quick note. That Jeep is technically a Fiat now.
Really?
Yeah, because Fiat Chrysler owns Jeep.
Right.
And Dodge. So technically, that's a reliable Fiat, which you don't see often this side of.
When did that happen? I didn't even know they bought them.
They had a merger. Right now, their stock's really low, actually, which was fun.
Which was fun.
I was like, if I were to invest in stock, because you're going to see a Jeep Wrangler pickup truck pretty soon, which is just Fiat printing money. Like, everybody's out of their heads for Jeeps right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's...
you can't find a used Jeep for, like, less than
7,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
less than 7.
If it's 2003 and up, it's 7,000 at least. I was gonna say
even
at most,
like
but...
Jeep Liberties, you know, like the
the awful Jeep
they're
Liberties.
They're still pretty expensive because people will slap aftermarket fenders on them and be like, it's trail reed.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a Grand Cherokee?
No.
Those things, I'm surprised.
They're all trail rated.
Yeah, I mean, we rented one for vacation, went to Colorado, and it was amazing. I mean, you wouldn't think a crossover vehicle. Well, okay. Jeep knows how to make an SUV. In my opinion, SUVs are basically useless when we're talking about crossovers. You know, not excursions. Or
Jeep
whatever,
is allowed to make crossovers because it's Jeep.
But you know, anything besides the Wrangler or a Land Rover, you get it off road, it doesn't work, which to me is pointless. But that's a
crossovers are meant now for the road's a bit icy, not for
or
actual...
I don't want to bend down to stick my kid in the car seat, basically.
Also, they're making the Jeep Cherokee Trackhawk, or they have for a while, which has like, I want to say it's like 500 horsepower. Like,
crazy.
Like people take those to drag strips and win sometime, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and even the Compass. I mean, that thing's the Jeep just know how to make cars, and they make them practically. I mean, the crossovers, any other crossover, they just don't work. I mean, they're useful in town, but at that point, you're just wasting 10 miles to the gallon to be in a car.
If you get a crossover, you might as well just get a station wagon.
Yeah.
Or just a larger sedan.
Now, admittedly, they're safer. They are a lot safer. And I'll give, if you're concerned about your safety, if you get in a car wreck, you're going to be a lot better off in any crossover than a car.
They're safe unless you flip over, because crossovers have that higher center of gravity. You know, because if you just want bigness, like if you get in like a Cadillac Eldorado, you don't have any crumple zones, but you have 10 feet of hood in front of you that acts as such.
Yeah, that's true. This is safe. It's basically a roll cage with plastic barriers.
Usually.
And then this is safe because it's a steel monster. But you know, even this, the Nova. I mean, you're gonna be fine in that.
The Nova's a little more iffy because it is a smaller car.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're talking about it's all steel. It was all steel then. So, but nowadays it's the special aluminum or whatever the heck they use to But
I mean, there's the worry of crumples. In smaller cars, crumple zones matter because it allows the car to absorb impact. While for the Nova, it doesn't have any crumple zones. So if I get in a bad wreck, that's going to carry over into me since I'm only going to be wearing a 3-point harness.
With those seats, it's all cushion. You'll be fine.
I will say I'll put better seat belts in there than the lap belts that
I mean,
there's some retrofitting to be done, but
no, with seats though, I love old car seats. I mean, new cars, it's
bench seat.
Even this one, it's just like it's not comfortable. I mean, they try to fit it to your body, kind of like pseudo race car with some padding, and it's just
which only works if you are in an actual race car with some padding.
Well, it's not even race. If it was race car, it'd be actually comfortable because you're meant to sit there for however long you're racing. But these things. And admittedly, the Rubicon does not have the best seats in the world. I would probably end up taking the headrests off.
That way your neck really snaps, whether or not you have a roll cage.
I mean, it's better than when paralyzed. But
moving on to practical car.
Yeah. So here's your first one.
The Hyundai Veloster, which weirdly enough, I've just been going through insurance prices for it, and I'll get that to later. Is not the most practical car I could have picked. But this is a hatchback.
I love hatchbacks.
This is a hatchback. What you're seeing on the screen is actually the right-hand drive version. So you can't see it, but this is actually a 4-door hatchback. And for those of you that don't actually know this, in America, a hatchback, the hatch actually counts as a door because I guess it's vertical enough. So usually you have 5-door hatchbacks or 3-door hatchbacks. This is a 4-door hatchback. What you don't get is that the driver's side has 1 door and the passenger side has 2 doors, which makes it weird enough that immediately I want this. On top of that, the Hyundai styling is not for everyone, but I think it's kind of sporty,
Oh yeah, it looks great.
It's got that center-mounted exhaust. And the wheels, depending on the wheels, are pretty nice, and it looks different and kind of cool, and the hood has that, I don't know what it's called, it's not really the vent, but it's kind of those indentations.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They have them on the new Ford GT as well. and it looks sporty. They turbo it, and you get like 40 miles per gallon, and or you can get 40 miles per gallon.
You can. You won't, but you can.
It comes in, like, the manual is apparently pretty good too, and it's just like a good practical car that's still like a little bit sporty and looks unique and is stylish.
Yeah, no, I've been in one. I mean, and I'm 6'3". It seems like it'd be small, but no, passenger seat, it's fine. You got plenty of room. Back seat, I'm sure I'd be cramped.
Yeah, the back seat, because of the way the sporty styling.
But that's for the plebs. It's fine.
Yeah, if whoever goes in the back seat doesn't go in there for comfortableness, it's because somebody else beat them to shotgun.
You're not going to take a road trip with 4 people in that car.
I took a road trip in my 2006 Honda Civic with 4 other people in that car to Tulsa, which is on Route 66. It was gorgeous. It's like, it's a 3-hour drive.
On Route 60, yeah.
It's on Route 66, so it's relaxing for me.
I mean, the Civic actually has quite a bit of room in the back, believe it or not. I mean, yeah, with 3 people, but as long as they're willing to they're willing to touch shoulders.
They were like squished in there.
Okay, well then that's their own fault.
And it was like
if you lay on each other, basically,
all the skinny people in the back, and they were still squished in there.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I've got long legs, so as the driver.
What year is your Civic again?
2006.
Right, I got the 2008 Civic, which is
exactly
we
both
the same
have the
hybrid.
hybrid. I was driving it.
It's an awful car.
Driving it in August, which meant that whenever I was going up those nice sweeping hills on Route 66 that Oklahoma kind of has, turn off the air conditioning.
Oh my goodness! Does your hybrid engine still work?
Sort of.
Does it turn off occasionally?
Sometimes it'll go. Sometimes it'll just be like, you know how you're going up a hill, right? And I kind of take it off the gas as I crest the hill. It'll like engine brake with the regenerative braking.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I had that speed right there, and you took that away from me, and you weren't doing me
something's
any good.
wrong with my battery, so it'll say it's full, and it'll work sometimes, and then halfway through it working or accelerating or something like that, the battery will drop to 2 little dots, and it's like, oh, we're just charging on full now. It's like, oh gosh, why?
It's annoying, but to the Hyundai Veloster, you get it's 105 horsepower, which I don't, on the naturally aspirated, without a turbo, which is about what my Civic has, even though my Civic's probably less because of the hybrid going out on it. But if you get the turbo, it goes to 200, and it's a 2 mile per gallon drop.
Yeah.
So
it's a fun little car.
Yeah, it's a fun little car. The turbo
what's the
nice.
Ford hatchback?
There's the Fiesta and there's the Focus.
Yeah, the Focus. That one's one of my favorite hatchbacks.
Yeah, the Focus is, and the Focus ST
I don't like the look
good.
so much, but just the performance you get out of it and the mileage is great. Now you see them a lot more in England. Hatchbacks aren't really that popular over here. Obviously we have bigger roads, we have bigger parking spaces, we have bigger everything.
Hatchbacks are for Volkswagen guys who only talk to each other. They're for Subi bros who are like, tractor! They're just whatever.
Yeah.
And then
you do see a lot of these around.
Yeah, you see a lot of Velosters, and you don't see a Veloster for sale for less than $10,000.
Yeah.
And it's bugging me because I go on when it's it's a rebuilt title. I was like, that's why you're selling it. Or it's you just don't see them for sale, which either means nobody bought them, but that doesn't make sense because I see so many. Or it just means that it's a good car that really nobody's getting rid of before it's time to get rid of one.
It's good. There's no reason not to have one.
There's 6 on campus
you don't have money
right now.
like us. But I'd take that over the Civic any day. But let's get on to your second car.
Second car, Ford Taurus station wagon.
This picture.
Yeah, this picture is not the best picture.
It speaks to the Taurus and how it's treated, though.
Alright, so if we're talking station wagons, the other station wagon I would practical, it would probably go into my daily category, but is a hearse, just because it's weird. You can play Highway to Hell and Stairway to Heaven, and
if your grandma dies, just put her in the back.
And you can be buried with it, or buried,
With you could be buried with any car, but
you can be buried with it as in it takes your coffin to your grave.
Yeah.
Or to my mausoleum that I'm going to build. But the station wagon, as a better alternative to the hearse because it has back seats that you don't lay down in. It's just the Taurus station wagon is just it's reliable. It's a workhorse. It's not the Buick Roadmaster with the V8 or anything that is the quintessential American car.
You have a different version of reliable. The two people I know who've owned a Taurus, it broke down all the time. Mainly transmission too.
Yeah.
Which it's for Ford, it has always been transmission.
True.
Every model of car they come out with, it's always the transmission. But
I guess like you have the parts and like it'll do the hauling from like the people that I've known. The people that I've known have like basically beat it into the ground until it just stops working, and it served them well for that. Also, on top of that,
given the what I said about the transmission, these things are easy to fix.
Yeah, they're easy to fix.
It's cramped, and given it's cramped to fix it, and you got to take a lot out sometimes, but it's cheap to fix. So.
And on top of it, of all the station wagons of that era, I think it has the boldest styling. Like, there's not a straight line on this car. Like, everything's just a little bit curved. And it had like that Ford New Wave, and I think it looks funky enough, and I like it enough that.
Well, yeah, it's got the early 2000s body curves.
Yeah, it's got that style, and it's the most early 2000s station wagon as compared to the Buick Roadmaster, which was still hanging on to the 50s.
Yeah,
not that I don't like the Buick Roadmaster or the Chevy Caprice wagon, but
no, the curves on that remind me of the Dodge minivans.
Yeah, the Caravan.
Yeah, but
like I picked it as if I had to have like a 90s practical wagon that I bought for $2,000 and sold for $2,500 or $2. Like, you know, as long as you take care of it,
well, yeah,
and as long as it's had like what needs to be replaced, you can run these into the ground.
Yeah. Well, okay.
If I had to pick, definitely go with the Veloster.
Okay, as I was just.
Bad thing about the Veloster is so I was looking at it because I'm actually looking at buying one. You know, buying an earlier
running at dealerships.
Model. It's mostly dealerships, and I'm always a little.
Well, I know you can't find one on Craigslist. No, there's no way.
But. Yeah, I've found a couple on Craigslist, and they were always just right in the Kelly Blue Book for them, which made sense. But I was always a little leery to buy because it was about $2,000 out of my price range. But looking at a Veloster...
What are they running, though? What price?
So, for like a 2013, 2014, it's about $8,000.
See, that's not bad.
It's not bad. It's just a little outside of my I'm a college kid, price range.
Yeah, no, I understand.
To drop on a car. But I was looking at that, and I was also looking at the Subaru BRZ, which isn't on this list, which is it's basically a Miata. It's got the 50/50.
Yeah,
it's got the boxer
I know
engine.
what you're talking about.
And that's like $2,000 above that. But this is actually about $500 more a year to insure than a Subaru BRZ, which is an aggressive little race car thing.
Yeah.
Which you would think, oh, of course. But no sense getting the naturally aspirated. The turbo parts are actually more expensive to insure.
Yeah.
Because they have those little parts. So whether or not you blow up your engine because you put the turbo on yourself, or if you just have, some problem and the turbo breaks, it's going to be a lot more for the insurance company to replace, so therefore they act accordingly. So I could buy a BRZ, pay it's like $500 more a year than my Civic is to insure, but at the same time, it's $500 less than the Veloster, which I find really weird, since the Veloster feels like more of the practical car, because it's 4 doors versus 2, but I would still pick this over the Taurus because it just has more styling. So this is my practical car. All right, enough about my picks.
And I think we're all in agreement. The Taurus can just stay in that slide right there. My practical car. Now I wasn't thinking like really price on these ones. I'm just thinking, okay, what I want that's a practical car.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd go for a new Veloster if I could.
For me, it's the 2019 Toyota Camry. It's just and any Camry, honestly, until 93.
It's the CCC.
Well, okay, no, Corolla until 93, okay. Camry until 96. That's important. But maybe it's 5. Yeah,
it's
but
the
not the 93
rule, right? The Corolla, Camry, Civic, Accord. Those 3 cars are going to be just the most practical cars because there's so many of them, and they're easy to fix, and they're good on gas.
Oh yeah, the gas is great. And the reason I went with the Camry instead of the Corolla is just space. Now, the Japanese companies, Korean companies, and depending on the company, I'd say about half of European companies, they do something that American companies do not know how to do, and that is space. For some reason, every American company, they give, and again, I'm tall. I notice this stuff. There's no space. The dashboard's on your knees in the front seat or in the driver's seat, and like it's just annoying. Any of those you know, Asian countries or in some European ones, they all give you space. There's I think it's Toyota, one of Toyota's models, maybe it was Kia's, but it was no wasted space. And that's true. That every inch is used, or every inch is purposeful, and it's either it gives you more space to move around the car, or there's more space to store stuff, but it's just nice. In the back seat, it's huge. I can fit comfortably back there.
And you're taller than I am almost. Or
yeah.
About. I think we're the same height, but you know, long legs. You know, your head brushes the headliner, even in the Civic sometimes.
Do you think I'm 6'3"? How tall are you?
I'm like 6. Yeah, I guess you are taller than me. You're like 2 inches taller than me. I'm like 6'1", 6.5 feet tall.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
Yeah.
I just have thick shoulders too, so I notice thick shoulders, wide shoulders.
Wide shoulders. Thick shoulders.
Thick shoulders. But yeah, I mean, and I like the look. I love the new Toyota Camry looks, and the Corollas I don't like as much, but yeah, the Camry definitely.
One comment. The reason that European and Asians can do space better is because their cars were always small. In America, we're recovering from 22-foot long, you know, Cadillacs, where a small car would be the size of a mid-size car, like today.
Well, I mean, and you're not wrong about that, but at the same time, these car designers are getting paid upwards of what, $200,000 at least, and depending on who it is and how important he is more. So. You know, they can think, surely one of them, if they're American, one of them's tall enough to know to sit down and go, huh, this isn't working. And they are getting better about it. But
it's like, if you step inside a Chevy Sonic, you're like, there's not room back here.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even a Chevy Cruze. What do you think about the Corolla hatch, though? The 2019 Corolla hatch.
Yeah, I've seen it. I mean, the front end's almost the same. It, of course, is more slanted, but I like the front end. The back, I mean, it's the hatch. I'd say I like the Veloster better, just in style in the back, but I do like the Corolla's front better.
Because
it's the Camry. You say?
What am I? It's the Corolla hatch.
It's the Corolla. Yeah, sorry, the Corolla hatch. Getting confused, but I think I like the back of the Veloster better than the Corolla's back, but. I don't know enough about its specs or how it performs. I was watching
some reviews, and they were talking about how like the shifter's like the best manual to actually learn on, and they're actually offering it in manual like on purpose and stuff. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But I've seen it. It looks great. I mean, I love hatches, but
okay, next pick.
Next pick, we're Toyota again.
Yes, again, the trucks.
The 2015 Toyota Tacoma. I've always liked trucks. I'm very particular about my trucks. We're not going to drop the microphone.
Despite how much we may try.
Yeah. Now the 2015, I like how it looks the most out of from 2010 to 2019.
You don't like the newer ones?
I like them. I like the the
black plastic.
Yeah, the black plastic down there. I think it makes it look better. It's just personal preference. But also the newer ones. So this is about here. They come down a little bit more by about 6 inches,
which is better for aerodynamics.
Which is better for aerodynamics, but clearance and it just looks better this way to me personally. Yeah, I take a 2019 too. It's not like I don't like the looks of it. This is just my favorite body style that they've had for the newer ones.
Funny thing, apparently the Toyota Tacoma's like on the, you know, what is it, like the like Edmunds, the car testers, you know, that like do all the testing.
Yeah.
Apparently Edmunds, like, it's not the most reliable or the best pickup, but it's the one with the most like customer satisfaction, weirdly enough.
Yeah, so the now the Silverado, and I'll explain why I chose this one over a lot of other trucks that I could have chosen that modern on, but the Silverado is hands down the longest lasting truck on the road. They claim it all the time. It is true. It does not break. It's similar to the Jeep's, you know, indestructible thing, but the Silverados just actually never break down, and when they do, it's usually not that bad unless it's just time for the car to die. There's always that breakdown where you're just looking at your engine and you're like, there's no way this is coming back. Yeah, so of course the Silverado is always gonna reign, at least for now.
Over the F-150, over the Raptor.
Well, the F-150, the reason it's so popular is because Ford just makes so much, and they're cheaper than everything else. I mean,
that's fair.
It's on average, I think it's $5,000 to $7,000 cheaper than a Silverado.
So it's like a Pax Romana of Ford.
Yeah, and there's so many, and yes, the Silverado has different packages and stuff, but the F-150 has any range of whatever you could possibly want with your F-150.
Even like an SVT
yeah.
with the Raptor.
And of course, the long beds are almost disappearing completely, which is annoying me to death. But
save the long beds, save the sticks.
the Ford, you can still get that with Ford, which is I think is good. But you have to order them. But I'm not sure about that. I think might have seen one at a dealer, but I know the newest ones they finally got rid of it. But you can still get them like earlier models. Now, the reason I chose back to the Toyota Tacoma, the reason I chose the Toyota Tacoma, it's reliable. Of course, not as reliable as the Silverado, but it's just more compact. Now, the fuel efficiency. When I talk to people about this is a big thing for me on the Toyota Tacoma. It's not a huge difference, but it is a difference.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact numbers at the moment. I could not tell you the 2015 ones or the 2019 ones, but it's a 5 to 6 miles per gallon difference. And when you're talking that you're only getting 18 to 16 miles to the gallon in the first place with a Silverado or an F-150, that's a big difference.
Yeah, because I mean,
it's a 30%.
Yeah, you're buying a classic Chevelle, basically.
Yeah.
Even though Chevelles might get more like 10, but... Yeah.
And I like the look of it. It is this particular model is not great at off-roading, but there's a few models that are just as good as off-roading when you need to. Which, as you can probably tell, that this has been a theme for me throughout things. But
off-road!
It's just, I live in the country, so... And I love the mountains. So
I too live in the country. I just don't care about...
Well, yeah.
I care about...
I mean, it's not like I've never driven my my Civic into the field when I need it.
I've only driven my Civic into a tree.
Well, that's interesting. But yeah. But between the Tacoma and the Camry, strictly for liking, I'd go with the Tacoma.
Brandon!
But if we're talking about practicality,
get out of the shooter! No swearing, we're on air. Oh.
But ignore that. But if we're talking about practicality, and this is what the segment's over, Camry. I gotta go with the Camry.
That's fair. It's the reign of the Toyotas. Camry wins.
And now,
yes.
we're on to...
This is I'm going with the 1971 Cutlass Supreme.
No, introduce our...
Oh. And I'll be going with it for... for the segment, Fun Car. And, alright. Actually, I'm thinking on buying one of these, recently.
Yeah,
okay.
you told me about that.
This has the hood scoops from the 442. This is not a 442. It has the hood scoops like it.
Yeah.
The one I'm thinking on buying doesn't have them, but it's a little bit of a boatier car. Weirdly enough, there's not actually a huge market for them, actually. I was actually talking about it. You should be able to buy one for $4,000. Nobody really sells them for that because they want to obviously put them above what they're they want to make a profit. But I think they're just really stylish cars. They look really nice. If you slap the 442 hood on it and a badge, you can like trick people. So yeah, it's just got a quiet exhaust. It's kind of in that like malaise era, like 70s, where the performance was kind of down, but you know they still had V8s. And the 71 is the first one of the first Cutlasses to actually be able to run what is now 87 octane gas versus like the whole premium stuff. So I could fill up at any gas station, even if, you know, maybe I need to throw an octane booster in there.
Yeah.
It's a fun car. The one pictured is like candy red with a convertible, and I would really want a hardtop. But like as a cruiser car, it's great.
Oh, if it's fun, I'm okay with the. Now I do hate soft tops.
Yeah, I want to go for I'm going for a hardtop. Is the one I might buy, even though it gets like 14 miles per gallon.
But with fun, I think soft tops are okay.
Yeah, even if it were a convertible, just like something cruising. A lot of these get turned into like the, I mean, stereotypical like lowrider, big 22-inch wheels.
Oh,
I'm gonna give it an awful paint job and kind of like the stereotypical like drug dealer car.
Yeah, your tacky flames.
Yeah, like each culture has its own car culture to it, so like I can't like completely blame people, but it's just not something I would do to the car. Which, like, you know, different strokes for different folks.
Well, I am loving the wingtip. I don't know what the car this is. The
oh yeah, the wingtip in the back looks like a Cadillac.
Yeah.
But this car in particular, it's different. Nobody has an Oldsmobile anymore. Mainly because Oldsmobile's out of business. But the car itself is it's different from everything else that shows up to the car meet.
Am I seeing spoked wheels right here? Are those spoked?
Sometimes they do spokes. Sometimes it's like American racing wheel style.
Gotcha.
You can do a variety of things. I think it's a bit of that kind of old car. It still has the 60s styling. It's like a little bit of a grandpa car. It's got that fastback design in the back that just speaks to me, really.
All right, and your next fun car is...
Next fun car, Alfa Romeo Spider.
Oh, you can actually read the words in this one for yours.
Sort of. It's basically like the pre-Miata when you were buying MG midgets. You were buying Opel GTs. You were buying like the little, like the Spitfire British cars. This was the Italian version of that.
Oh, you gotta love the Spitfire, but yeah. That's the Alfa Romeo Spider.
Okay, I am an Alfa Romeo fanboy. I love anything Alfa Romeo.
Quality cars.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy them over here, and really the Alfa Romeo 4C, which we'll see later on, is really the only car from them I would buy right now in the States that they offer, though there's stuff in Italy that's also really good. But this Spider, you see it in Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket. You actually see an Alfa Romeo Spider, they crash, but it's just got that, it's like a 60s Miata styling. I say Miata because that's the only modern car that kind of matches it. I'd want it in convertible just for being a fun car that I can just zip down Route 66. And because of emissions regulations, they were one of the first cars that utilized their I believe it's HICA or it's NOSPICA, SPICA, mechanical fuel injection.
Really?
Yeah. So if you can find one with mechanical fuel injection, get that, because it's really good as long as you take care of it. And they would just like come with that. Like, it wasn't an option or anything. It was just like, here's your fuel injection because we're gonna use this to get around emission stuff. And it's just like a really good car to just zip around, and a really fun car to do that in. Of course, it's built like a speedboat. Like, if you flip, you're dead. If anybody hits you, you're dead, but you get really good visibility because, like, your head and shoulders are way above, like, the belt line.
Yeah. But it's a fun car.
It's a fun car. Like, it's a car.
You need safety.
It's a
Take
car
it to the track.
well, maybe not the track, but it's like a car that I like canyon carve in.